All right, Jack, I have a question for you.
Okay, what's your question, sir? Hit me.
Have you ever been turned on by the sight of a penis?
I mean, not the sight of not the sight of a single penis.
And forgive me, anyone who's listening. I just had a moment. We're friends.
Yeah, I mean, I've had moments watching pornographic material where there was a penis present. But
So it was a coincidental penis, is what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. I
it
don't
was,
think it was the penis itself, but
It was a collateral damage penis. It
Correct,
just
correct.
happened that there was a penis present.
yeah,
But
yeah. And
but
hey,
like-
look. I'm not opposed to people being turned on by penises. That's fine if that's what you like.
I'm not throwing shade. So
By the way, that's a great intro.
I was having a conversation with someone, and I
Okay.
sort of realized.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm very sorry to our listeners. We'll get on to normal topics shortly.
By the way, I had no idea this was coming. People.
I don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is an experience unique. I remember as a teenager. Right? As a teenager.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a little embarrassing to admit in a public podcast. I remember
We're all friends here.
I remember as a teenager being turned on by the sight of my own.
Really?
Yeah, you never had that experience? I thought this
No.
might be,
What, you thought we were going to have a shared cathartic
yeah,
experience
I thought you'd be
here?
like, yeah, I've been there too, man. Instead, you're hanging me out to dry.
I mean, I don't mean to, but... Okay, let me think about it. No...
Isn't it really, like, as a teenager, like, when the hormones were really coursing and all of that, and, like, you look down and you were like, huh.
Well... I don't... No, there's certain... I'm glad I stopped myself from saying what I was going to say.
I wish you'd stop me from saying this.
Well, you didn't stop me from singing on stream, so we're even.
That's true, but you didn't warn me that you were going to do that.
That's true.
Fair enough.
You didn't warn me
that
you
I
were going to
I
do
was
this
gonna do
either.
this.
I had no idea this was coming.
By the way, I don't sit around and think about these things. I wasn't just sitting around thinking about it. I was having a conversation, and we were just talking about, like,
I don't think it's...
being a teenager, being a teenage boy versus not,
Right.
and just sort of like what sexual awakenings were like, and this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, I just very clearly remember having that, and I think it's just like a proximity thing. I think it's similar to the collateral damage penis that you were talking about, which is like it's just sort of there, and you just I don't know how. I was going to say women, but that's not really right. Like, I don't know how other people relate to, like, pornography, but, like, there's sort of, like, if you see a still image of something, there's a promise of what's about to happen. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Okay. No, I get that idea. And that's also why I said, I have seen pornographic material where there was a penis present. That, sure, got me in the mood, turned me on, or whatever the hell you want to call it. But it wasn't necessarily the penis, it was the idea of the penis.
It was the...
Oh, God! I so want to cut that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's like... You're not turned on by the sight of the Titanic, but you know it's going to hit the iceberg.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
That's a terrible metaphor.
It's the things that one can do with a penis that are the exciting...
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Podcast of the Nerds. My name is Jack.
And I'm Ian. So we do this cold open thing, and I don't know, I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about, I remember that teenage... I'm not saying I do that as a 42-year-old man.
Hey, no judgment, man. No judgment.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and this will be which is partially why I... Anyway, today on the podcast, we're doing another little bit of a kind of shortened format, but we're sort of like... I think our format's always a little in flux. The format is us...
We're still finding our feet. We're still trying to figure this out. You know, we've tried some stuff that hasn't worked, and we've tried stuff that has worked really well, and we're still, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Also, this week we officially made Jack the complete and total producer of the podcast. For all the reasons you love.
Sink. Speaking of the Titanic, no.
For all
it's gonna be fun.
For all the comments you have loving the podcast, direct them to Jack.
Yes, and all the terrible ones too. If you want to, no, don't do that.
Don't be
mean to me.
Yeah, don't do that. Jack's very nice. Anyway, this week we're going to start off by catching up. It's only been 4 or 5 days since the last one, but
yeah.
I don't know how you doing.
We're on a bit of a roll. But no, I'm doing okay. But also, we're going to... I found a survey along the lines of how well do we know each other, and we're going to get stuck into that for a little bit of fun. Maybe it could be end up like a rolling segment. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I thought it would be fun. And then, of course, we're going to follow that up and finish off with the fanfic reading. Here Is Gone by Terry Boda. Chapter 34, and I believe we have 9 more chapters left.
Yeah, it's getting down there. We're going to need to figure out how we're going to pick a new fanfic. Do we stick with Buffy? We talked about, there were a couple comments about the erotic fanfic that we talked about last week. However,
down,
I don't think
hey,
we
I'm
want to
the
make
producer
that...
now, so
well,
we're doing
true.
it.
Damn it. Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, but before we kick things off, I just wanted to ask, gentle viewers, gentle listeners, how are you guys doing? What have you been up to? What have you been doing to pass the time and to stay sane? Let us know in the comments, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Myself, I need to see a doctor, Ian.
Why? I don't like when you talk about doctors.
Yeah, I know. Just what I need. More medical attention, right?
Yeah.
And more. No, it's nothing super serious. My right ear, it's been kind of for the last 4 or 5 days now. It's been kind of like, it's not sore, but it feels like it's kind of like blocked. But like, it's kind of it's hard to explain. It kind of sounds like my ear is constantly vibrating.
I get weird stuff with my ears like that every once in a while.
Yeah, and like I was listening to music this morning in the shower, and it's like when the music plays, it's almost like I can hear in my right ear. You know the sound when you hold the microphone too close to the speaker and you get that high pitched sort of feedback sound. That's what I can hear. I'm not like concerned about it as such. It's just kind of annoying, and it doesn't hurt. So,
well, the seasons are changing.
Yeah, I mean, but I sort of have had trouble with my right ear for the last couple of months, just like earaches and stuff here and there. I don't know, but it's okay, I guess. But it's just last thing I need though is more medical shit, right?
Well, the funny thing is too, like we all, well, I don't know about we all, like, the inevitable desire to sort of figure it out. You have the mind's desire to be like, well, maybe, and even though you have no basis or background or whatever, in my head I was like thinking about all of the medical issues that you've described to me, and I was like, well, maybe this connected to that and that, and I was like, no, Ian, you don't know anything.
It's funny though. You're kind of adorable because like when I'll be explaining like my kidney issues and whatnot, you'll connect dots that are there, and I'm like, Ian, sweetie, no.
That's the one that's connected to the toes, right? You should have your toes checked out. I think your toes are in trouble.
Yeah, but no, I get it. You're also a fixer.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
It's funny with Lonnie. I have to. We'll be talking. And you know, you share stuff that you're dealing with. You share stuff that you're talking about. And like my opinion is that Like, the healthiest state that you can get into as a person in a relationship is, or in many contexts, is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Acknowledge. Stop trying to guess. Stop trying to just do the thing.
Yep.
And, like, do the dance and do a game or whatever. Just, I don't know. I'm going to ask. And so a lot of times in a situation, she'll tell me something and I'll start to respond. And then I'll be like, wait. Is this you just need me to listen moment, or is this you want me to help fix it moment?
And like, you've said that to me before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know, ask.
Right.
And very often, it's like just it's either one or the other. I'm like, okay, perfect. I have my attachment is that you feel better. And so I have no attachment to giving advice or to listening. I just want you to feel better, and if it's like you just need to get stuff off your chest, then I need to shut the hell up and listen. But I just think that I think that's a good place to be. Is all I was saying.
But the thing with me is, though, if I'm reaching out to you talking about something, whatever it is, like, I'm always open to you giving advice or whatever. It's just
yeah. Not always. We've caught sometimes where you've had to be like, just let me be. And I'm like, oh, this wasn't a fix-it moment. This was a just listen. And
But just, me, like, my imagination gets the better of me when I'm struggling with things. I mean, talking about connecting dots that aren't there, I'm the king of that.
Sure.
And so,
sometimes I can see a spin going on for another person and be like, hang on, let's catch this and slow it down.
Yeah. And there's so many times when I've, like, spewed out this, like, stream of consciousness to you, and you don't have to say a single thing, and I just get this look of, oh, I just realized how ridiculous that is. It's like once I say it and vocalize it, it's like, oh, wait, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, today we were talking, and you were like, oh, wait, none of this matters.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's not really the point. It's the thing that's creating all of this.
Yeah. So it's always helpful, man. It's always helpful. Even just to listen to me and help me point out that I'm just being a crazy person. That's fine.
Yeah, with some people you have more carte blanche than others. Obviously, like, I'm closest in this world at the moment with you and Lonnie, and so I know that there's a lot of freedom in our relationships to just be like, including inviting tough love.
Correct. Which is something I definitely need.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, this ear thing, like, I'm not worried about it, but of course my mind goes to the whole, what if I'm going to lose my hearing? What if because it is affecting my hearing, dude. I was in 7-Eleven the other day, and the guy was asking me something, I just couldn't hear him properly.
But what would be the precedent for this being evidence of hearing loss, or as opposed to just...
Have you met me? Do you think I need a reason to... I don't have the reason.
I guess I just immediately switched into the approach of, like, well, let's talk about this. Anyway, go on.
I see what you're doing there, and I like it. No. It's just catastrophizing. That's all it is. I mean, I know that's what it is. So yeah, I should get that checked out, because it. The first day I woke up with it, I just thought, oh, that's weird, but it'll go away, and it hasn't. So yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
What else have I been up to? Oh, Ian.
Yes.
You introduced me to what is now my favorite current TV show. Oh my god.
Well, I figured you should start The Bachelor sometime.
Yeah, I know. It's so like I've been missing out on reality television, man.
My rose will always be for you, Jack. But no, seriously, what is the
the show? It's an English show called Fleabag. I think you said Lonnie introduced you to it.
She did.
Okay.
It's one of those ones that I saw the. I don't use Amazon Prime as much as I use Netflix.
I use it all the time.
Yeah.
See, Australian Netflix sucks, so that's why I use Amazon Prime.
Well, I use Plex more than I use either of them. But I guess just sort of, if there's a Kleenex to online streaming for me, it's Netflix, and then Amazon Prime is kind of an afterthought of I'll go there. But anyway, you have probably seen the Fleabag poster if you've signed into Amazon Prime in the last year.
Yeah.
It's a picture
Which I
of
had.
A younger woman with mascara streaked on her face, and it says Fleabag underneath, which I honestly think is a terrible poster for what the show feels like, how pacey it is, how it, that shot is relevant to the events of the series, but I think it so misrepresents the tone and experience of the show.
Yeah. Because how many? I think I've seen 3 episodes now. Is it more?
You've seen 4. There are 6 in the first season, and the second season is the best season. First season's amazing, though.
And so far, I haven't seen anything that poster could really relate to. Maybe the beginnings of it.
Yeah, but, and the charm and the editing and like
it's missing.
The kind of sexiness of it and the all of that. None of that it's just such a bizarre choice for the image.
It is. I agree.
I don't know what the visual would be otherwise.
I don't know either.
So just before we get too deep into the idea, do you want to set it up for people?
Set it up as in explain what it's about.
Yeah, what's the show about?
It's kind of hard to define exactly. I was thinking about it before. It kind of reminds me of kind of like Sex in the City, but not.
Well,
but not. but not.
Sex in the City that has. I don't know. I watched all of Sex in the City. Did I tell you that?
What? I've watched it?
I've seen every episode of Sex in the City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my
okay.
I've seen ex from a long time ago. We you watch stuff, couples. To me, it's one of the awesome parts about couples, especially early on, because you get to have that. They don't know. Your kid doesn't know that Luke Skywalker is the son of Darth Vader moment.
Yeah.
You've never seen this, and you get to watch your favorites together with them and see the reactions.
Right.
So we traded.
I've seen enough to know the gist of it. That's about it.
Yeah, we traded shows. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, you pick something that we watch together, and I'll pick something that we watch together, and we watch an episode of it each night. Her pick was Sex in the City. Mine was The X-Files.
I love the contrast there.
Yeah. I would not compare. I get where you're going with that, but I think it's a misleading comparison.
Well, because I was thinking it's kind of about a woman, and so far from what I've seen, her relationships, but not. I guess it's not just romantic or sexual.
No, her family plays a huge role.
It's her family. It's. I don't know, Ian. How would you describe it? Because I'm struggling here.
So it's written. I believe it's written, directed, and starring Phoebe Waller-Cates.
Bridge, not Cates. Phoebe Cates is.
What's her? Forgive me. I'm looking in our notes and I don't see it. Phoebe Waller. What? Correct
Bridge.
Me.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is spectacular.
Yeah, she's incredible.
She's a woman living in London who is dealing with some distant relationships with her family and has started a coffee shop with a friend who is gone. I'm not spoiling anything that didn't occur in the first season.
Yeah.
Right. She's incredibly charming, very funny, and dealing with something.
Yeah, and she's kind of a little damaged, I guess. A little...
she's got some baggage.
But
the show, the way the show is cut together, she has a lot of conversations to the camera.
Yeah, I love that.
I've always loved that motif, or rather that it's not a motif, but you know what I mean.
It's done in such a quirky way, though. Like I've never
seen editing it quite done
this way. Yeah. Even I love how it transitions from one scene to another. There's lots of like it feels abrupt, but it's often just like funny and just I don't know, it works really well.
Yeah, a lot of when I edit episode guides, and I'm not comparing what I did to Fleabag, but I know from personal experience that a lot of humor emerges in how you edit.
Yeah.
The crisper the edit, the cleaner the edit, the better the joke feels, the sharper the joke feels. Whenever I have some dumb line about something in the script where I'm just sort of doing an off-the-cuff kind of joke, I cut the end of it as sharp as possible so that it immediately goes into the rest of the episode guide, because I find the joke just works better that way. And this show is so crisply edited.
Yeah. And it's very like it's pretty fast paced. Would you say the pacing's pretty fast, but not like breakneck speed?
Yeah, it always feels as fast as it needs to be. There's no fat. It just there's everything is everything feels right where it needs to be to me. It's amazing.
And I love the way it not only juggles, but it sort of like mashes together comedy and melancholy. Like it does it.
Yeah, I would describe it as a comedy that has some melancholy as the genre. So it's the first episode, and it's so short. You should just watch it if you have Amazon Prime. It's very sexy. There's a lot of sex.
There's no nudity though, from what I've seen. There's no.
I mean, there's always like an arm or a hand in the right direction, but they're very vocal about sex and sex addiction and all of that.
Don't watch it with your grandmother.
That's the only word of warning I can think of, as opposed to like Dark or some of the previous things that we've talked about. But other than that, it is so worth it, so easy to consume, and in terms of total volume of content, it's like a 3-hour movie, and it's a 3-hour comedy.
Yeah, because they're like 20 to 22 minute episodes, 24 maybe. They're very short episodes. Yeah. But I love it because it's so quirky and it's so charming, and it's funny, but it's also kind of beautiful too. And I love how the main character, it doesn't glorify her baggage, but it presents it in this way that's real, whilst not being I don't know, like even though she has issues and whatnot, it doesn't make you hate her, but it doesn't glorify her shittiness either.
And her performance is so. She and her sister have a fascinating relationship, and her performance there. I've not seen eye acting as good as this. Moments where
she's so expressive.
In the first episode, a number of different people ask her, "Are you okay?" And the shot hangs on her for just an extra half a second, and you see something in her eyes, and that's wonderful. It's astonishing to me. It's really good.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough. Just even if you're only mildly interested, check it out. And if you do, let us know. Or if you've already seen it, let us know as well.
I would say it's the best thing we've talked about on this show.
Yeah, I would agree too.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Lonnie.
Yes, thank you, Lonnie. Always thank you, Lonnie, because Lonnie, just thank you for being Lonnie. That's what I'm thankful for. I'm still watching X-Files. I haven't watched a ton. It's
an old school slog. So
it's a slog.
I watched a couple episodes with you when we talked about it the last time, and now have started watching some with you. And that first season, man. So I think I defended the acting last week in the first season.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, I take that back.
See?
I know it gets better. Jerk. I know it gets better. It has some
David
of the.
Duchovny.
It has some. Well, they're both. The thing of it is I'm not sure that it's the actors, or every once in a while you watch something and you think that was the best take. There has to have been a better take. than that one that they went with. And there's some of that going on. You know, it's the first season, they're finding their characters, and this is the old school 24 episodes.
Right.
Like, they had 2 weeks to film an episode. I bet sometimes that was 1 or 2 takes.
Also, like, I don't want to say that, like, David Duchovny or anyone else is a terrible actor, because there are some
you're just talking about the
scenes
first season.
Yeah, but there's some scenes where he's fine, but then there's other scenes where I'm just
That's
like,
why
ugh.
I feel like it's a matter of take and budget and time.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that the show contains some of the best episodes of television ever.
Right. It's just,
but you've got to get through this this early.
I'm not hating it, but it's just not grabbing me
Yeah.
yet either.
So in my mind, the early map of the only stuff worth watching. Now, Jack, for context, I'm a person who will skip, especially in a show that is episodic. If it's and especially on rewatches, if people tell me that it's a slog but the good stuff is here, then I say, okay, what episode should I watch? That's why I created the skip guide for Buffy. You, on the other hand,
I just can't do it. I'm physically incapable of it. It triggers something in me. I don't want to say OCD because that's sort of making light of people who actually have OCD, but it kind of feels I just can't do it. I can't do it. I just even like if I'm rewatching Buffy, the only episode I'll skip is Witch, and I know we're not going to open that can of worms again. We're not going there, but I just can't. I guess I'm a completionist, and I think it stems from like. Even if you tell me it sucks, I want to know for myself.
Right.
Like,
have I ever steered you wrong?
No, you haven't, but I still... I just can't do it. I can't.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But
so I'm in.
I got to admit that I'm getting tempted with this, though. I really am.
So in my head, the early good season episodes, the first one is Squeeze, which you've already watched, and you watched that before.
That was a good one.
And then I think I jumped on with you at that point, and we did like 4, 5, 6, and 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're all boring.
Yeah,
they're all...
and then you were like, next one I want to watch with you is Ice. I
think that's episode 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And then
I have to get to there myself first, which I haven't done yet.
Yeah,
I tried to yesterday.
Well, that's the problem. Is I feel like if I don't watch it with you, you won't do it.
I mean, there's something to be said there because you're not exactly like I'll begrudgingly do it, maybe. But I want to watch Fleabag with you though, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, but Fleabag's short. We're going to be through that in a week.
I tried to... I did put an episode on yesterday, but I just wasn't in the mood. But just...
Since when are you in the mood for boring? I didn't know that mood existed.
Well...
It's a slog. That's the definition of slog. Like, this is classic... Early... This is old... Like, they don't make this kind of thing like this anymore. You know, I think a lot of times when something hits the airwaves now, it's so refined, it's so sure of what it's supposed to be.
And it's very polished where this just isn't.
Yeah, we're doing a Law and Order, we're doing a medical show, we're doing whatever it is. We're doing crime scene investigators. And this is like, you know, maybe... Twin Peaks kind of did a kind of thing that this was doing, but he's doing something that I don't think had quite been done before. Same with Star Trek The Next Generation, really. Even though it's the first season or two of Next Generation are the Gene Roddenberry throwback. They feel like 1960s seasons of the show, and I'm not a big original series fan. So those seasons for me are difficult. Third season, it finds its identity. It's this new thing. It's very modern. And while some of the bits are the same, there's really nothing like Star Trek. They do other shows try and do, you know, no one does that space universe quite in that way, quite with that identity that Star Trek does. And X-Files
X-Files is very
unique.
Yeah, and I think that's why Star Trek has become a seminal piece in that genre. It really is like the quintessential like space opera. Even is that what you would call it?
Yeah, I don't like. I'm sure X-Files has its touchstones here and there, but there are many shows that came after that look and feel like the X-Files. Fringe. Even Supernatural to some degree has some of the Supernatural finds its own identity later on. I would say by season 3, it's pretty. They know who those characters are and what it is and all of that. But so many things borrowed from the X-Files, where I think it was more unique. The first, it's like Buffy. Buffy feels very derivative of other things early on. But there's nothing like Buffy, No.
Speaking of Supernatural, did I tell you a while ago I watched a good chunk of the first season? Didn't I tell you about that?
You might have.
It's another one that I couldn't get into it.
First season's a slog.
There were a couple of good episodes. There was the episode where there's a demon crashing planes or something. Yeah. I really liked that one.
That show's pure popcorn to me. I mean, X-Files kind of is too, but it's sort of the height of...
Yeah.
Like, Supernatural was never... I know we have some hardcore Supernatural fans that listen.
I can hear Boris screaming right now.
He's more gently contradicting. I don't know. I don't know if you scream, do you, Boris?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I just I know a lot of people who say that Supernatural is worth checking out, like a lot.
It is.
People I genuinely trust, and people who I have similar tastes with. So
I watched. I forget how many. I watched all the seasons that were out at the time. That's like 10 seasons of Supernatural. It's entertaining, but that first season, man.
Yeah, I am a horror fan, of course, as you know, and I do love that it takes its horror pretty seriously for the most part.
You know what it is? It's like a cross between X-Files and Constantine.
I can see that.
Is what I would describe. Like, with a hot young guy bent.
Right.
Like Dean.
Dean.
What's his name?
Dean annoys me. I don't like
him. I hated him the beginning of this. I tweeted about it. He's such a bro. Yeah, he's such a dude bro. And eventually they start subverting the dude bro persona. And that was when the show turns for me, because I hate the dude bro persona. And it's so boring to me. It's so on the nose. And eventually I feel like they kind of grokked to that as well, and start subverting that, and sort of it's still there a little bit, but they undercut it with the way the story does, where he ends up in a humiliating situation or whatever it is. And the lore gets better, and the tone was too dark in the first season, and in the later seasons it just sort of lightens up and starts to enjoy its romp through the lore.
See, I like that it, as I said, I like that it takes its horror pretty seriously, so they changed that and turned up a little bit.
Yeah. And every season is its own story, and they really don't interact so much.
Yeah, and there's no callbacks or anything.
I would say the seasons have a memory of previous seasons, but every story is sort of like, you could have just been on board for that season.
It's standalone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not super serial across the seasons, but it is a little bit within them.
I'm sure I'll check it out in like 20 years' time after I've seen
Firefly. I want you to get to the, like, for me, it's funny, whenever I start a show, I'm giving this like 4 episodes.
Yeah, you're pretty impatient in that regard.
Yeah, 4 episodes. If I don't get a taste of something, I'm out. But whenever I try and force a friend through something, I'm like, you're watching 3 seasons before I let you off the hook. And in my head, X-Files, like, you got to get to season 3. By season 2, you'll start to feel, but there's not a half season like there is with Buffy. Like I never really enjoyed the first season of Buffy until this year, but there's only 12 episodes.
Right, yeah. Okay. Well, Ian, I've been talking about myself for a while. What about you? What's been going on for you, buddy?
So, do you ever have... Every time I start a question like that now, you're going to be like...
I get nervous. I get really nervous.
So, one of the things about quitting my full-time job to do the channel was like there's a huge pay cut. It was and that requires but in my head the video I made about about quitting and all of that was about redefining in your head what success is. What do you define as success? Not what did you inherit as a definition of success or...
Yeah, it's not about money or, what you own and all that stuff.
And in my head, I was thinking, okay, well, if I could dedicate the bulk of my time to doing things I care about, like this podcast or the scripts or the streams or all of that, that would be worth a big trade-off. But it also kind of forces you to come face-to-face with your spending habits. And I definitely am a hot-blooded American consumer. I don't feel so good. I'll buy a gadget. Or a thing, or
I do that,
whatever.
and I can't even afford it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been doing that a little bit, and segue.
I just bought 4 different, 4 copies, like vinyl copies of the same album. The only difference is the discs are different colors, and they're hand signed. But yeah, so
well, I
know how to waste money too.
I think too is like there's an argument to be made for whatever income level that you're at. Like you still deserve a luxury from time to time.
Exactly,
you still deserve
you have to treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, and you still have to have a bit of fun too. Even if you're broke, you gotta have a bit of fun, and and so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. So, the Xbox Series X comes out tomorrow, and I pre-ordered it like 3-4 weeks ago, and I don't think I have buyer's remorse yet. Like that's the thing about that gadget. Like, I hate that experience so much when you're like, I need the toolbox fallacy video is at least partly founded on when I realized that I thought I'll buy a fitness watch, then I'll lose all the weight and exercise and do all the things. And then you buy the fitness watch, and it sits in the corner for a week. You go running, and it's really good. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, it sits in the corner, and I hate that experience.
It's basically like you get the 15 minutes of serotonin, and then you're like, okay, what's next?
Well, or you come sort of face-to-face with the reality, which is that it wasn't the fitness watch that was keeping you from working out. It was the lack of commitment and good habits that was keeping you from working out,
Right.
But I've also had that experience with a tablet, I've recently I've kind of realized I'm not a big mobile guy. I use my phone for stuff relating to the channel, and that's it. I don't do a lot of gaming. I don't use a lot of apps.
I don't know, because my phone's not super important to me, but I've still got last year's Samsung because I wanted it. I saved up money and I just thought I'm gonna get it. I love my gadgets. I don't know.
I love gadgets too.
See, I don't necessarily gauge whether or not I buy something by how much I use it. Sometimes I just want it because I want it.
Yeah. And I'm not. Just to be clear, I'm not trying to disparage anyone else's habits. I'm just sort of examining my own and trying to understand my own motivations. You know, the thing Apple has done a wonderful job of, or has been very successful at, is converting technology into fashion. So they release a new phone, they release a new whatever, and it's incrementally better or whatever. But it is desired in the way a new style is, new pants, new whatever. The latest.
I fully admit that I'm a sucker to that. I'm a complete sucker with certain things, anyway.
Well, but sucker assumes that it's a negative thing. Like, is fashion a negative thing, or is jewelry a negative thing? Like, I don't know. I don't think so.
And my phone, it's a good phone, but like, I could get by with a $30 flip phone if I wanted to, but I don't want to. So
well, and I guess that's partly for me is I'm getting better at understanding when I want a thing just to have the thing because I like gadgets, because I like toys, and when I'm going to buy a thing that I actually will use. And I think the Series X is something that I will use. Now, I'm actually, on the surface of it, I should have bought, not should have, but you know what we're talking about here. I don't need to be that clear with language. I should have bought a PlayStation 5. I'm the studio.
So you're going to buy an Xbox Series X?
I already did buy an Xbox Series X. But I should have bought a PlayStation 5 because Naughty Dog, who makes The Last of Us, who makes Uncharted, they're currently my favorite game studio working, and they're exclusive to Sony. All of that. It used to be BioWare as well, but then Andromeda came out, and BioWare, and then Anthem.
Anthem.
Yeah.
Mine's Rockstar, in case anybody is interested.
But the game changer for me has been the Xbox Game Pass, which I have started diving into and using. Xbox Game Pass is their monthly service that gives you access to the library of I don't know. I've been using it on the PC. There aren't as many games as there are on the console. The console, you get sort of the full library. But it is the Netflix for video games, where you open it up and there are 500 games, and you install one of them and play.
I can see the value there. If I had one, I would probably use it a lot more for that reason. And
on the website, I've talked about this in a previous one. On the website, there's a little spinner button that says, "What am I playing now?" And it randomly picks one of the games from the 200 on the PC and says, "Try this." And one night I was playing, I went through 3 of those, and was like, I get what this is. No, I'm not interested. Next. And the third one was Spiritfarer, which was probably my favorite game that I've played this year. Yeah. And that, for me, made me decide, okay, in order to have the full access to the Xbox Pass and Netflix for video games, I'll get that console. But the funny part is, I will probably never buy a game for that console. This will be the first console that I never buy a game for, because with the Xbox Pass, if I'm going to buy a game, I'm going to buy it for the PC. I'm absolutely going to buy it for the PC.
Unless they come out with a really good Xbox exclusive. But
all the Xbox exclusives are on the Game Pass.
Oh, even like new ones that they drop, is that?
Yeah, that's the way they've been doing it. Gears 5, the new
from what
Halo.
I've read, though, that they're actually not launching with any like big titles.
They're not, but they're launching with a library of 500 games because of the Xbox Pass.
Right.
You know, I want to play Spider-Man Miles Morales, but not that much. Not enough to switch systems.
Yeah. I really wanted to play the other Spider-Man game that they put out. I haven't had a console in a long time. I had a PS3, but I sold it because I never used it. But it was an older generation of console, and I've got a reasonably high-end gaming PC, so there was just no allure to it after a while. I played The Last of Us, and then I sold it to a friend of mine.
Yeah. The Last of Us was and the thing is, with any system, you don't really want to play all of the exclusives. All the exclusives, there's a couple that you are really honing in on and interested in. But there's such a value proposition with the pass, and I love that random option and just diving in and playing something I never would play before.
Yeah.
That I was like,
oh wait,
okay.
hang on, I lied. I have a Switch, but see, I use the Switch in handheld mode mostly, like 99% of the time. So I don't think of it as a console, but it is. It's a console. Yeah, that's the most recent one I bought. But there's a couple of exclusives I would like on PlayStation, like Spider-Man, and there was I think it's Until Dawn, and I've been praying that they release that for PC, but they won't.
Well, they released Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a Sony exclusive. They've released that on PC. So you never know. Okay. Sony,
maybe
Sony's a little more cryptic about their exclusives and how they treat them.
Until Dawn, it's basically like a horror movie in a game. Like I only know a little bit about it, but there's like a ton of characters, and you make choices. Like you'll be like take this path or the other path, and there's like mini games and stuff in it. But yeah, it's basically a horror game inside. Well, a horror movie inside of a game.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool to me.
Well, so I pre-ordered through Best Buy, and because of Corona, I had to make an appointment to pick up the Xbox, and it was an appointment between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. were the windows that they had. And when I actually scheduled the appointment, I think my appointment is for 6:30 in the morning tomorrow.
Oh!
Yeah.
That's going to suck.
I haven't been
up
up
if you
before...
miss that, you can't go in? You have to reschedule again?
I don't know. I haven't been up before 7 on purpose since I went on a road trip several months ago, and that was the only time this year that I can think of. So should be interesting. Also this week, you, me, and Lonnie have been playing a lot of Beat Saber.
Yes. I took a little hiatus, non-intentional. I just stopped playing VR for a little while. Yeah. Now I've gotten back into it.
They added multiplayer, which I'll never quite get over the magic of VR presence and seeing you on the other side facing me and us pointing the lightsabers at each other and being able to dance and stuff. There's just something a little magic about it. And all three of us have been using it for fitness. The other day I did 3 hours. And
that was partially my fault.
Well, I did 2 hours on my own and was just drenched. And then you and I were like, well, let's do something. And I said, why don't we try the Beat Saber multiplayer? Yeah. And I'm
glad you did that, though, because that reignited my love for it, and I've been doing it every day since.
Yeah, and I have 5-pound wrist weight. Since I have like 40 more hours in the game than you, I was adding weights every time I won a song, because that's the problem with the multiplayer is there's no handicap, there's no scaling, there's no...
And you play on expert or expert plus, whereas I've only just started venturing into hard.
You were on normal and hard. Normal. So we built that in where every time you won or I lost one, I put a pound of weight on my wrists. And so by the end I was like playing with 6 pounds of weight in the 3rd hour of exercise that I had done that day. Which felt great. Honestly, it felt really great. I feel better. I feel endorphins are magic. And the key is just finding. I kind of feel bad for all that time I wasted in gyms and with gym memberships that I stopped using and all of that. It's like the key seems to me the key seems to me to be finding the form of exercise that's fun, you know, that's entertaining, that captures your interest, so it doesn't feel like exercise, whether that's joining pickup games of basketball or whatever you need to do
because
that.
It doesn't feel like exercise, it feels like playing a game, and I just love the immersion of it. I often forget that I'm in my apartment, flailing my arms around at nothing. Yeah,
and especially during the pandemic, when we're all at home and quarantined and all of that, I've really found VR to be a nice escape. to get out of the environment. And it's with the new Quest 2, we're not going to talk about the Facebook stuff. Everyone needs to work through that for themselves personally. But the new Quest 2 is $299, and then for the 64 gig, or $399 for the 128, which is it's cheaper than either of the new consoles. It's cheaper than an Xbox.
Dues, it's a little more expensive for us, but we always get ripped off with everything.
It's cheaper than an Xbox Series X. It's cheaper than a PlayStation 5, and it gets you up, doing things, moving around.
And once you start playing VR games, I don't know. There's just nothing else like it. It's the immersion, and it's just like. Yeah, no, they say gaming is like escapism, but it's beyond escapism.
Well, VR is just so different because of the physical activity involved. And there are a lot of games that don't require you to flail around. But I think the helpful way to think of it is like the Quest 2 does not require a computer. It does not require all of the extra stuff.
You can hook it up to a computer if you want to, but you don't need it.
It's a game console. It is a game console. It's a Switch. It's an Xbox. It's whatever it is, and it is so worth it. I especially for working out, I do the climb with all 6 pounds of weight on my arms that I'm just holding over my head.
I've been meaning to get the climb, but they're also releasing a sequel to it. Why don't you tell everybody what the climb is?
The controllers are hands, and you're standing in front of a cliff, and you look up, and there are various grips that you need to do to grab and move up the cliff. Now, obviously, you're not carrying your own actual weight when you're climbing, so it's kind of a puzzle game sort of thing where you have to figure out routes, and your hands...
You're essentially a rock climber.
Yeah, and your hands have stamina bars, and the longer you hold on one hand, the faster that stamina drops.
Oh, cool, I didn't know that.
And that's the mechanic for... as you climb, like your hands get more and more tired, you have to chalk them, and that resets the stamina meter.
Okay. I've heard people say that falling is terrifying in that game.
It doesn't bother me, and I have a terrible fear of height. I get vertigo, but it has not triggered it.
That's the main reason why I want to play it, for that sort of immersion and looking down and being like, holy shit, that's high.
Yeah, but to make it more difficult and to make it an addition for working out, I got wrist weights that I was using in Beat Saber, and when I climb, I put all 6 pounds on each wrist, and I'm holding that 6 pounds over my head for the period of time as I climb. Right. And the other one is Creed, the boxing game, which for all intents and purposes is boxing, dodging out of the way.
It's very arcadey, but it's still boxing.
Yeah. Minus the physical damage, the physical impact, all of that. You still have to move and use your stabilizers and so forth.
Yeah. And you can do like big, you can actually like you fight like proper boxers and stuff. Like there's one guy, I think it's the first guy you fight. He's big and he's beefy and he's terrifying. Man.
Yeah, there's a guy that's a foot taller than me, and I'm 6'3", so I'm punching up.
Yeah. But there's also like a gym area where you can like punch bags and do exercises and stuff. It's another one that's a really good workout.
Whenever I'm gassed and sweating after one fight in that game.
Yeah. And you have to block and you have to duck and dodge and do all those kinds of things. Or else you just get exactly, and throw a wrench. No. But yeah, and if you don't do all those things, you get your ass kicked. It's actually a pretty challenging game at the higher levels.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, most boxing games to me feel like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. They have felt like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out since Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. But the difference is you're in the game, standing across from the guy in the ring. And have to, move out of the way and keep moving.
Yeah. And when I knock someone out, I put my arms up and like, yes, woo!
There's an achievement for that.
Yes, I got the achievement. It's called showboating, I think. Yeah. I was very pleased with that.
And the last thing I wanted to mention was, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that I talked about my dad. I was just sharing in the context of sort of how you deal with stress and anxiety. And I received a fair number of kind comments regarding him and people telling me they hoped he was okay. He's doing fine. He has an appointment to get it taken care of and to do a full check for other problems this
Good
week.
stuff.
So, he's getting it checked out. He's getting it taken care of. But I appreciated, we've talked about how everything. I never wanted any of the work that I do one way or another to feel like a journal, where it's just sort of like, and here's what's going on in my life. I don't think that's interesting. For me, there needs to be a punchline or a
reason.
A punchline or a climax or a message or whatever. Nonetheless, I appreciated everyone's comments.
I'm glad it's going okay so far, man.
So far.
So far. And that's all you can do, man. One step at a time and see what happens, Yeah. But, we're going to finish up with a little bit of, I guess a bit of fun. I guess a bit of silly fun. We were sort of spitballing ideas.
Well, silly fun depending on how this goes.
True. I mean, it could get kind of serious.
It could get serious. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We're just gonna wing it. But I was thinking about how like couples and friends and stuff on YouTube play lots of like how well do we know each other games, and I'm like, Ian, how about this for a bit of fun? He's like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So I found a website that had like a list of like 250 questions, and I picked 5 of them that could be kind of fun. And the way this works is we ask the question, and then we try to like guess what the other person's like answer is going to be. It's how well do we know each other? Right. You're not. These aren't. You don't say what yours is. You say what you think the other person's is. But correct. For anyone listening. I invite you to add your answers, your personal answers for yourself, down in the comments. Absolutely. Just for a bit of fun. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So, Jack. Yes. How can you tell when I'm having a bad day? Okay, this is actually a pretty easy one for you, because when you're having a bad day, you sort of go inward and. Basically, I know you are having a bad day when I don't hear from you, pretty much. Unless I know that you're otherwise indisposed. What about when we're talking? Can you read it? Oh, yeah, actually. Yeah, but I don't know exactly how to explain how or why. Well, yeah, the thing about that question, too, is like when you're besties... If I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to tell you. So, like, you don't really have to read it. Right. Yeah. But I think that I can tell. Yeah, if you're just a little off, is what I would say into that. Yeah, but how do you tell I'm having a bad day? Boom, face me. I guess you can seem a little grumpy, and you often have when you're having a bad day. You often have like a tired expression on your face. That's true. When I'm in a bad mood, I get very sleepy, and I never know. Like it's a weird. Yeah. I'm rarely angry. The cat jumped on my lap and scared the poop out of me today, and hurt my leg, and I got upset for that half second before you're like, oh yeah, she's a dumb animal. Like, there's no, so just, kitty, get out. Yeah. But you have that moment of like, right. But other than that, I don't really get angry. But yeah, often like, if I don't hear from you on the day, that is often one of my first thoughts, is that you might be having a bad day, because you tend to, you retreat a little when you're dealing with stuff. Yeah. We all would you say I'm pretty accurate? I think so. I think so. 7 months ago, or so, I don't know. I'm not actually counting. Sometime in March, I quit drinking, and I think that's been a very specific marking point for me. There's a before and there's an after to that, where when you drink to the level and volume that I did and am compulsed to do, it's driven by something. It's Jack, it's not a party if it happens every day. Yeah.
And for me, what like I've talked about it on the podcast, the pandemic put its foot on the throat of my coping mechanism, and stress and anxiety and all of that. Like that was the way I did it. And then there was that corresponding hangover the next day where I didn't want to talk to anyone and just keep my head down and just stay in bed or whatever it was. Thing about quitting is it doesn't fix any of the anxiety or stress. But you now have to face
find other
it.
ways.
Yeah,
to
you have
get
to
it
face
out,
it.
yeah.
You have to work on it. Understand it. Do what you can. And I feel like that has had a mellowing effect on it has altered the way that I think I would manifest sadness or any of that, because the journey through it is different. It's not, there's not that balm, but consequently
Right.
it's also much more cognitive. Does that make sense?
No, totally. No,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, how about me? How can you tell when I'm having a bad day?
Jack, you're a light. Just look at you. You're just a big, bright, shiny light, and when
making
you're
me blush.
when you're in a good mood, that light just shines. When you're not feeling well, that light dims. It just is like you're. Have you ever watched Friends?
Not really.
Yeah.
no.
So when you answer Skype and you're in a good mood, it's "Hey Pookie,"
Yeah.
or
That's
I
exactly
forgot,
what I say,
I forgot what
actually.
your go-to is recently, but you say it almost.
Hello, Poppet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But when you're in a bad mood, you sound like Russ from Friends or Eeyore.
Okay.
Hi.
Eeyore. Eeyore's a great one. Yeah. I don't have a good poker face.
No.
So
And the funny
if
part is, you
I'm-
thought you did. I don't know where
I know,
you
I
got
thought
that
I
impression
did.
from.
And until you called me out on it, and you just like, you really don't. And I thought about it, and I'm like, no, I don't have a good poker
Yeah,
face.
no, I've got your number
Yeah.
that way, where it's like, all right,
Yeah,
buddy, what's going on?
If I'm having a bad day, you're gonna know it because you're just gonna see it on my face, the way I talk. And
It's been raining on your face.
I also, for the most part, I don't typically try to hide it from people when I'm
Yeah.
having a bad day.
Well, it's like we were
for the
talking
most
about,
part.
especially with besties. It's like it's not
It-
conversation's an opportunity to unburden
Yeah.
yourself of some of that and feel better.
Right. Yeah. And, like, it does depend on the person, the situation. Like, I'm not going to open up to everybody and whatnot. But, yeah, if you know me reasonably well, you can see it from a mile away when I'm not having a good day and I'm struggling. It's just very obvious.
Jack, which movie always makes me cry?
See, this was a difficult one because I'm sure there's a couple.
This is an easy one for the two of us. I don't know how this is supposed to be a challenging question, because I know two of yours immediately, and they're the same as mine.
Yeah, no, in hindsight, yeah. But I tried to be a little more thinking outside of... Well, actually, no. Okay.
Yeah, no.
So, the first one that came to mind for me is Shakespeare in Love, but like happy cry.
Yeah, that's joy
kind of
cry.
like
A joy cry.
Yeah.
Well, the end of Shakespeare
Yeah.
in Love has a melancholy cry.
Yeah.
A little bit of a melancholy cry, but when they kiss, it's like joy cry, where you're just like...
Yeah. And I want to say her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one?
I'm Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. And those are my
Yeah.
answers for you as well.
And you are absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
The
yeah.
other thing though too is you and I are we'll say sensitive fellas.
We certainly are.
You
Yes.
know,
yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to out anyone, but it's fun when we meet people in our circle who are, when you and I are like, I love that movie, I cry every time, and they're like,
Yeah.
you like crying to stuff? It's like, well, yes,
It's cathartic, man.
It's
It makes me feel
cathartic. Yeah.
things.
We definitely share that in common, and through the the List of Shame movie project we do and all of that, there's been numerous films where the two of us are like, unless I'm cackling through the end of Ghost, you know,
You know, I teared up several times watching Ghost.
Yeah, well, in fairness, you cackled through the end of Are You Now or Have You Ever? So we mutually ruined the ending of two movies that made us cry. Or two
please don't bring that up, or else I'm not going to be able to stop laughing. But that was funny. I mean, the situation wasn't funny. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Turnabout's fair play.
Yeah. Next, I mean, are we done with that question?
Yeah.
We are? Yep. All right. How do you think I deal with difficult situations, Ian?
Honestly, I think you are spectacular at dealing with difficult situations. I think that
thank you.
The kind of things that you have been through, the things that you've had to deal with, are terrifying. Or can be, and you've had to sort of internalize them and go, all right, what are we going to do? And fight to be brave, fight to have courage. I think you are wonderful. You're one of the bravest people I've ever met when it comes to just getting up and doing what needs to be done in the face of scary or terrifying situations. So, you know, difficult is a relative word, but or a subjective term. But the first place, so it's up to me. And the first place I went when I read that was, you know, there. Now, do you have things that you could work on in terms of maybe things you put yourself through instead of things the world puts you through? Yeah, we all do. That's incredibly human. But I've also seen you just have to be brave and get up and get through some stuff that you know astonishes me, man. So I'm
this got a lot more real than I was expecting. Well, first, thank you.
Yeah.
I have been through some pretty scary stuff. And like I'm not exaggerating here, but I've nearly died several times due to like my disability and illnesses that come with it. And like in terms of how I deal with it, I don't know because I've been going through it since I was a kid. So
the other thing too, which makes all of it to me more impressive, is like you don't settle for that bullshit where I'm like, well, I have nothing to complain about, and you're like, no,
I hate that.
Yeah, we talked about that with the water dance and like portrayals of disability and all of that, where it's like, no, suffering is relative. Like
it's all relative. Yeah.
The quote that I've used in the guides is like, suffering is like a gas. It fills each of us to our capacity, whether it's a little or a lot. You know, but nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact that like having to grapple with your own health, your own mortality, like all of that requires a tremendous amount of character and strength, and you've got it. So,
thanks, man. It's exactly the same thing as people saying, "Oh, well, I can't complain. There's starving kids in Africa." It's like, yes, there is, and that's horrible. But you're a human being, and you go through shit, and that's okay. It's okay. Like, I really hate the idea that you're not allowed to complain. You're not allowed to say it's not fair. Like, there's like nobility in not complaining or not admitting that it's that something isn't fair, because dude, sometimes life is shit and sometimes it's not fair, and it's okay to acknowledge that.
And I believe the acknowledging of it makes you more prepared for it. Like, I don't mean catastrophizing stuff that hasn't happened yet, but things that are there. Like, if you can allow yourself a moment of like, holy hell, this sucks. You know, then you can unburden yourself of that grief for a moment and be like, okay, what's next? What do we do? Here we go. And put one step in the other. But if you're just trying to shove that down, I mean, I think that's weakening, because you're carrying it with you. It's an extra pound, you know. But I don't know. That's just my perception of
it's I don't know. It's because like I was saying before, like I've been going through all this stuff since I was a kid. Like, well, I mean, from the moment I was born, I had a 16-hour operation to save my life. I was born without a heartbeat. Like shit got serious from the get go.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, so now, like, when I tell people, my story and, the stuff that I've experienced and gone through and whatnot, they're often, like, floored by it, and they're taken aback by how nonchalant I talk about it. But, I don't know, I often forget how big of a deal it is because of, what am I trying to say in here? Like, it's just my life, and because it's normal. It feels normal to me,
Well, I mean, that's
always
the
been
thing.
this way.
That's the thing too. Is like nothing you've ever told me about what you've been through and what you've overcome surprises me. I'm not like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense that Jack has that capability and that strength. Of course he does. Like you've always been that person to me. But yeah, I know it's always a lot, but it never surprises me that you're able to get through it.
Now, how the hell do I follow up that answer? Jesus Christ. Ian, you are, like I've said before, I've said many, many, many times, you are the most emotionally mature people that I know, and it's one of the things that I admire about you the most. Like, you're not some like a brick wall. You have issues and feelings like everybody, but you're really good at sort of figuring them out or trying to. And so the way you deal with difficult situations is you're a fixer. You sort of turn it into an equation, kind of. And you're always looking for what you can learn from it and how you can frame it in a way that's beneficial for you, but also if it concerns another person, you're always interested in what is best for them as well.
Yeah, the comment I've gotten once or twice is, "Oh, you actually live like this." Like the stuff
you really do.
The stuff in the episode guides about choice and the philosophy and all of that, and not only to the world outside, but to my inner life and emotions and things that I deal with, and applying not suppressing or changing things, but just saying like, okay, well, I felt the thing I felt the fear. As an example of this podcast, that sounds terrifying. Let's do it. Right. To I mean, just to be free, I think is kind of the operating principle, and not driven by all that fear and anxiety, even though I have it and will probably never purge it away completely.
And guys, I can confirm that it's not an act. It's really not. This is what he's like all the time. So you know how much I admire you and how much you've I say it a lot, but you have made me a better person just by being who you are. Like there's so many situations where I think, how would Ian process this? What would Ian do? You're my go-to person in that regard, and you've helped me like so much. Like you have made me a better person, and I mean that with all of my heart, dude. Like no other human being on this planet has really had like the extent of an effect that you have had on me. No one else.
I appreciate it, brother. It was funny, we were talking before this. I was like, maybe we shouldn't play up the romance, the bromance. And then I was like, but yeah, we'll get a room. But everyone listening,
it's real though, man. This shit's real.
Our love is real. Jack, what is or was my favorite subject in school?
Now, see, I've got two answers here, and I'm not sure which one is the most correct.
I have to think about it. I think I know the answer, yeah. Actually, there's an automatic answer for me.
The first one I thought of was, I get the feeling that you were a theater kid in some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you think.
And that was... the other answer that I was going to lean on is sort of like something to do with like English, like literature, that sort of realm of things.
I mean, yes, but the thing I always found in English was I like to read what I liked to read. I didn't like to read everything that was assigned, but in theater I always liked to be a different character or whatever it was. For someone like me, like where there were a lot of identity struggles, theater was a great outlet for that, where you could sort of try on different whatever. The to me, the we'll say the negative stereotype of the theater kid is very affected, very performative, very and sort of by extrapolation, very false. Not particularly vulnerable. And honestly, I feel like that was probably accurate when I was younger, where it was like, but I mean, being a teenager sucks, or it did for me. It's like very insecure and all of that.
I don't think I know anyone who had fun as a teenager. Well, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing things I wasn't supposed to do, sure, but like being a teenager in general sucks.
It was, I was such a rule follower. But yeah, being a teenager stuff. But the thing is, like, theater's a great way to sort of try on different identities and sort of find where you're comfortable. And,
I agree,
and all of that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that I remember about being a teenager is you're so just coursing with emotion all the time, whether that's joy or sadness or melancholy or anger or energy or whatever it was, and having a character to channel that into felt incredibly cathartic, where I could offload some of this emotion that I didn't know what to do with, which, may or may not have just been hormones or trauma or whatever it was just coursing through me. I had a place to put all of those feelings, and they became the characters. So yeah, theater was a big one. The other one was probably I took a course, commercial art. Took a course, but that's so not like in specific that it's like there's no way to guess that.
Yeah. There's no way I was going to pick that.
But I started learning Photoshop, Illustrator, and Adobe Premiere when I was 17, 16.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
And that class has influenced my entire life.
Right. Okay. Cool. Well, Ian, what do you think was my favorite subject?
I think it was theater.
Yeah. Look, I had a couple. Yeah. Theater. We call it drama here, and I did like 2 years of drama, and I really did like it a lot. The other ones I really liked. You're not going to be surprised here because I've got a whole tattoo sleeve dedicated to it. But I really like science. And the other one I really liked was history. I get my love of history from my mother. But yeah, no, I reiterate all the things you said about theater. It's just fun exploring a character and being someone else, and it's a great form of expression and whatnot. And my love of science, that comes from... So, when I saw the movie Deep Impact... Oh, no, sorry, Armageddon. Armageddon was the one. Deep Impact... I mean, they're basically the same movie.
Yeah.
But Armageddon, it made me want to go and blow up a big asteroid with Bruce Willis and be a spaceman. I for the longest time after I saw that, I wanted to be an astronaut, and that ignited this love of space, the universe, physics, stuff like that. So that's my favorite area of science. And yeah, history, I don't know, I just like history. I just like
history's a blast.
The past.
In college, I think history and philosophy. Like high school is what I said it was, but college it became history and philosophy.
Okay. Okay.
Sort of changed things up.
I will also say that my least favorite was math.
Math.
I still hate mathematics. Like, get away from me. Hate it.
Yep.
Hate
me
it.
too.
Well, last question. You take it.
Well,
buddy.
I think we've been
question?
snake drafting, so you ask the last question.
Ah, okay. Well, who was your first celebrity crush, and who is the current one?
All right.
That's the last one.
Your first celebrity crush, we should, you actually said it, and I didn't record it in my brain parts.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with... That's so tough, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
Your first celebrity crush, I don't know... I'll just say it.
Because
like,
you and I, we're kind of from different eras too, sort of.
What is that, like 13, 14 years old is kind of...
Well, how old were you in 87? That's when I was born. So you would...
I was 8.
Okay, yeah. So, you're a bit older.
So I was getting my first celebrity crush. That wording sounded weird. When you were like 3? Or 4 years old.
Around then.
So that's tough. But I put the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty close. Yeah, actually, no, I forgot about her, but that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger. And then later on, who?
Yeah. Well, what was the one you were gonna say? What was the one you said earlier?
Well, the one I said earlier was Kirsten Dunst, who I fell in love with when I saw Spider-Man 1.
So current one, I was gonna say Phoebe Waller-Bridge from.
Yeah. I didn't know who she was like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
But I'm really into her. I don't know if I'm into her or if I'm into her character. I fall in love with fictional women all the time.
Well, and the other thing too is like that show is so good, and knowing the actress also wrote and edited and I don't know if she edited but directed that entire deal. It's like there's that like
it's pretty safe to say there is a lot of herself in it. Yeah. But other acceptable answers would also be Margot Robbie, because, of course, Margot Robbie. And also, another, I don't know if this one necessarily counts. So, about a week ago, I discovered this singer-songwriter / YouTuber. She's Irish. Her name is Janet Devlin. She's extremely talented. She's a very beautiful girl, and her videos are really, really funny. And but there's no way you were going to guess that.
Yeah, there's no way I was going to get that.
Not a freaking chance. But you, my good friend, see, I know the answer to your first celebrity crush because we've talked about it many, many times.
Yeah.
And that would be Gillian Anderson.
Yep. Yeah, so like season 2 or 3, she gets the red hair. It's not Gillian Anderson specifically. It's
Dana Scully.
It's Dana Scully. Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets the red hair. I don't know why they like. It's interesting when fashions on a show swing so completely, like the pajama onesies from Star Trek: The Next Generation season 1 and 2 to the collared 2-piece ones, which was a functional thing too. That if I remember correctly, the onesies, a chiropractor watched the show and said everyone on that show is going to get constant backaches if you keep them in those outfits. And so they switched to the 2 pieces, just like Christian Bale in The Dark Knight, so that he can turn his head, so that they can pivot and turn their bodies. And all of that. But as for adding the collar, it adds such a weird layer of a look that I still think holds up. But so I don't know. She looks incredibly different in the first 2 seasons to the way she did in season 3, and that's also where the chemistry cooks up and all of their character is really there and strong. The other 2 answers would be.
I was thinking about this. Now, I was trying to think of women that were very, very prominent in your formative years, shall we say? And
I think I've said them on the podcast before, but
I think the first lady that came to mind was Phoebe Cates from she was in Gremlins.
No.
No, okay.
No. I think that was you.
No,
No?
no,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
it
think
wasn't me.
Phoebe Cates. No. Other than that, I got no idea. Sorry.
So, I think Ripley from Alien,
Oh
and
wow. Okay.
Aliens,
Okay.
was probably one of the earlier ones. Um, like when she goes back to get Newt in Aliens,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, that's a sweet moment.
that moment when she points the flamethrower at the egg sacs, and the Queen makes the other aliens back off, and then she and Newt are backing out of the room, and an egg opens, and Ripley looks at the Queen, and then goes that, and then burns every egg in the
Yeah.
entire that moment specifically stands out to me as a crushy moment where
Okay.
I was just like,
Wow.
that's very attractive.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And the other
you
one
said that
was
another one?
Sarah Connor, but specifically
Sarah Connor.
Terminator 2 Sarah Connor.
Wow. Okay. So. I'm sensing a theme here. You like very strong women, and that's great. Me too. Me
yeah,
too.
the,
But, yeah. I mean, because they're kind of like the archetype, like strong female characters. Ripley and Sarah Connor. They're essentially they're the first ones I would think of.
The bit where she the dude has just licked her face in the mental institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or wait, no, that was the scene before. But that dude who did lick her face looks in the closet, the broom closet, and there's a broom broken in half. And he shuts the door and turns around just as Sarah Connor hits him in the face with the broom several times.
Yeah. I feel you, buddy. I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel you.
I kind of like that moment. But that moment, like, there's also the scene later on where she shoots Miles Dyson in the back. I don't know.
Miles was a good guy.
Miles was great, but like, yeah,
He's a
like
good
that
guy.
scene where she talks to
learned the error
John
of
and
his
says,
ways.
"You came here to stop me." Like, or the when she's that whole sequence though, like there's that
Yeah.
her shooting him and then seeing
Yeah.
the family wrapped around him, and
Yeah.
Linda Carter, Linda Blair,
Hamilton.
Linda
Smith.
Hamilton. Linda Hamilton does that transition from "I'm not going to let you do it" to holding her hand up and going
Yeah.
is so powerful
Yeah.
and affecting,
Yeah.
and it's like that power and aggression from earlier balanced
Right.
out by that compassion and all of
Right.
that. So it's like
See,
there's a quote about the greatest demonstration of power being having all the power and not using it.
right.
Like the most, and I think that's in that scene, and her humanity is so beautiful, and all of that. Definitely crushed on her in that movie.
Okay. Yeah, the great thing about that scene, like, I mean, it's kind of, it's the Thanos thing. It's like you can kind of see the logic in what she was doing. No fate but what we make. Like,
Right.
You get why she was doing it. But yeah, but. And your current celebrity crush is also very, very easy. That would be a lady by the name of Lani Diane Rich, right?
Well, she is a celebrity.
Yeah, she is. She's a star. She's a star.
But is it, are our relationships crushes? Do you and I have a crush on each other, or is it just a relationship?
Well,
at that point?
I can only speak for myself, but damn.
Yes, that was totally my answer. And
Yeah.
there was one I was reading through the list. This has come up a couple of times in the conversation. Jonathan Van Ness.
What?
Jonathan Van
I-
Ness. You
I
don't know who
even
Jonathan
who-
Van Ness is?
No. No.
So Jonathan Van Ness is one of the guys from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Oh, okay. One of those dudes. Okay.
He's the hairstylist, and dude's got such amazing attitude. He's an incredible follow on Instagram, And there's specifically where I was, you remember that scene in Angel where Cordy says to Doyle, "Someone's attracted," and he says, "I'm not." And then as Angel's walking out and throwing on his jacket, it drops into slow motion, and you see his jacket billowing, and Doyle says, "Maybe I'm a little attracted." I think I had that moment with Jonathan Van Ness. So.
Look, we're talking a man crush. Mine would be either two musicians.
Oh, I'm not saying man crush.
Okay, you're just saying straight up crush.
I'm just saying crush. Like so one of the seasons of Queer Eye they did from the South, like Missouri, I think, or Kansas. I don't remember. And all the guys took the dude bed shopping. It was some straight guy. I think it's just Queer Eye. Yeah, I mispronounced that. The original Bravo show was Queer Eye for the straight guy. The Netflix
I remember the original.
Yeah, the next Netflix show is just Queer Eye, and they do gay, straight, yada yada yada.
Okay.
But this particular guy is some straight guy, and they're bed shopping, and the dude jumps on the bed and says, "Well, what do you think?" And Jonathan Van Ness says, "I don't know, let me see." And he jumps on the bed next to the guy and snuggles up to him, and he's like, "Oh, I think it's pretty good." And I was like, that looks pretty good. I think I kind of want to snuggle with Jonathan Van Ness.
Yeah. Well, for me... Yep, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, for me, it's two musicians. Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills, freaking insanely talented vocalist, and I look at him and I'm just like, why don't I look like that? He's and also actually three. The other one would be Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. Again, just insanely talented and a good-looking dude. And Corey Taylor, the lead singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour. I have admired that guy for years and years and years. He's one of my, like, if I believed in heroes as such, he would be one of my heroes. Yeah. But I think be your own hero, Ian. Be your own hero.
Yeah, and after that particular episode, they featured Jonathan Van Ness going back to school. I always loved his parts the best when they cut to like things he would say. I've just kind of come to grips with kind of crushing on Jonathan Van Ness.
It's fine. It's fine. No shame in that, buddy.
Well, those are all our questions.
That's it. But before we get into the fanfic reading, I just want to let you know that I am at Lack of Surprise 1 on Twitter. That's all one word with the number 1 at the end.
And I am at Ian Nittram. That's my first name and last name spelled backwards. If you'd like to support the channel and keep us flush in Microsoft points and platonic intimacy, you can do so at patreon.com/passionofthenerd. With the $5 and up club, you can join us in the Hangout this weekend, where we will be talking about The Replacement.
The Replacement.
Yeah, and we're doing, Jack, you and I are doing a Replacement rewatch on Thursday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time.
Yeah, which I believe is Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. for those of you on the Australian East Coast. You can also support us by grabbing yourself something from passionofthenerd.com/store. T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, phone cases, all of that stuff you'd expect to find. You can also give us a review, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. Hit the thumb, hit the like, leave us a review. The algorithms are very real, and you might not think it, but those make a huge difference.
They make a huge difference. So it seems like a nothing. It is not a nothing. It's a something. So if you feel like it, we appreciate it. If you don't, we understand. Maybe you didn't like hearing about erection stuff and the whole thing. I don't know.
That's cool too.
I don't know.
You do you is what we're saying. Yeah. You do you.
I'm not trying to emotionally blackmail you, and neither is Jack.
No, but please help do it.
Yeah. If you do, I promise not to talk about erections for another podcast. Or I definitely will. Whatever one suits you.
Honest. It's gonna happen again. We just, yeah.
And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you may not realize this, but you can also support the podcast for free by using your monthly Amazon Prime Twitch subscription at twitch.tv/thepassionofthenerd. As ever, my streaming there has been completely sporadic. Maybe I'll do. I'm picking up the Xbox tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some Xbox streaming. Don't hold me to it. All right, let's go to the fan fiction reading now. Here is Gone by Terry Boda, chapter 35, not 34. He carried the axe with him on his back when he left Rupert's to head for the cemetery on the following night. He knew he wouldn't need it, but he had to make Niblet believe that he'd come to protect Joyce's grave. Dawn was smart enough to notice if he didn't have a weapon, and would be sure to ask questions later. Sure enough, just as he had done before, he found Dawn kneeling by the fresh grave. The teen looked small and broken, and she was fighting back tears as she read from the book she had stolen from the magic box. He saw her collect some dirt from the grave, swallowed the lump in his throat, and stepped up. "Hope it's just dirt you're after," he said grimly, making Dawn gasp and reel to face him. "If the spell calls for anything more than that, you're going to be into zombie territory." "Spike, I wasn't—" she tried, desperate. "I know good and well what you're up to. The book you're holding is infamous." The look on her face almost broke him. Almost. But he knew too well how badly resurrection spells could go, Buffy's resurrection notwithstanding, and he choked every time he thought of Joyce coming back as a mindless zombie. "Please, don't tell Buffy. I can't. I just have to get her back. I have to," Dawn pleaded. "Dawn," he said softly, lowering himself to kneel next to her, "I miss your Mom. She was good and decent, and I liked her a lot. And because I liked her and looked to her as I would my own Mom, I can't let you go through this spell." "But I need her. Buffy, she's always so busy. And I'm nothing but a burden to her, and with Gloria looking for the key." The tears started rolling down Dawn's cheeks, and he reached over to brush them away with his thumb. "Dawn, Buffy loves you very much. And it's just that Slayers have a hard time with the softer emotions, because their lives are so hard." "But I need my Mom," the teen sobbed. "I have to get her back. Willow said... She showed me." "Did Wills give you this book?" he asked, trying not to hide the anger in her voice. Dawn recoiled a bit. "No, but she showed me another book, one that she and Tara have that talked about this one." "So you nicked it from the magic box?" he prodded. She looked ashamed and nodded. "Yes, and the spell's ingredients." She looked at him, begging. "It says I can bring Mom back. The spell says it raises the dead." "Yeah, and the dead don't take too kindly to it. Trust me, Bit, your Mom deserves to rest in peace. There's no telling what you'll get if you do that spell. Joyce could come back half rotten and without a mind," he cautioned seriously. "But the spell—" "Black mojo like that is wonky. And it never turns out the way you think it will," he said. "Believe me, Dawn. I thought we could bring Joyce back. If I thought we could bring Joyce back and be guaranteed that she'd have all her pieces and parts in all the right places, and with her mind intact, I'd dig her up for you." He reached for her, seeking to hold her. "But there are no guarantees. What if you brought back something that looked like your Mom, that either me or Buffy would have to kill?" I would never do that," Dawn insisted, horrified. Spike shook his head. "No guarantees, sweet Bit. One wrong word, one mispronunciation, one spell component misplaced, and you could have a monster on your hands. You want that?" "No, but—" she tried. He glanced at the book. "You read Latin?" Dawn followed his line of sight. No, but I have a translation." "Uh-huh. And Latin never has words that sound like each other, and the spell couldn't possibly be mistranslated," he said, giving her an incredulous eye. She grew angry and struck him in the chest with her small fist. He barely felt the blow. "What do you care? You're a soulless vampire. You can't feel emotions and grief." "Singing Big Sis's song, are we now?" he growled angrily. "I need my mother back. And I'm saying what comes back won't be your mom." "I don't care." "Yes, you do," he countered, stung and hurt by her words. "You think I don't feel pain? You think I don't miss your mom? Who was it that brought her chocolates and looked in on her? Who was it that watched telly and talked to her about passions? I loved your mom. She was kind and good and took care of me even though I'm a demon. She never treated me like a freak. He stopped, wiping away the tears that came unbidden to his eyes. "I loved Joyce like my own mum. I loved her, I did. And I'd have saved her if I could have." He hardened and turned to Dawn, grim-faced. "But Joyce is dead. And nothing we do is going to change that. And she'd want me to honor her memory by making sure the daughters she loved silly stay alive. And that includes stopping you from making a huge mistake." Gritting his teeth, he reached over and grabbed her wrist, holding it firm but not tightly enough to hurt her. Then he stood, hauling her to her feet with him as she struggled. "No!" she yelled, punching at him with her free hand. He shook his head. "No axe for you tonight, sweet bit. I won't let you kick me in the jewels again. I'm taking you home to Buffy." "No, you can't. I won't go," she cried, digging in her heels as he tried to pull her away from the fresh grave. "Don't have much to say in it, Bit. Vampire strength here." "I'll scream. I swear I will," she threatened. "And bring every vamp and nasty within hearing distance down on us. Buffy's home, Bit. I took a patrol for her tonight," he told her, walking forward. She stumbled and almost fell. He caught her around the waist, holding her up, but ready to defend himself if it proved to be a ruse. She leaned limply against him, crying. "You don't understand. I need her, Spike. Who will take care of me?" Her broken sobs cut him to the quick, and he wrapped his arms around her. "I will, Bit. You've got me. You've still got me. You'll always have me." But she understood. He stroked her hair and hugged her close. "I know, Bit. I know." With that, she broke down completely and then collapsed in his arms, weeping. He held her, letting his own tears roll down his cheeks and fall into her hair. "Spike?" a new voice said hesitantly, and he turned his head to see Willow and Tara standing there. He fixed the redhead with an angry glare, but said nothing. "Is everything all right?" Willow asked worriedly, and not a little guiltily. Behind her, Tara saw the book and spell components and gasped, hurrying forward. "No worries, Glinda. She didn't get too far with it." Tara quickly gathered up the book and stolen items while Willow looked helplessly on. "It tells me you put a bug in her ear," he said evenly, letting some of his ire creep into his voice. "Me? No, not really. I didn't mean to," the witch stammered, flushing. Willow thought the book she showed Dawn was just a history book. She didn't know that it referred to specific spells and grimoires, Tara explained. Spike raised an eyebrow at Tara, and he knew that she saw he was unconvinced, but neither was he willing to further the discussion. "Dawn," Tara said, addressing the teen who was huddled in Spike's arms. "Save it, Glinda. I already read her the riot act. Now I just want to get her to the Big Sis." "Oh, we can do that," Willow offered, but stopped when Dawn recoiled further into Spike's embrace. "I think Niblet wants Big Bad to take her home. I can protect her when Buffy throws her fit, and when she finds out what little sis was up to." "You're sure she didn't get far with the spell?" Tara questioned. Spike shook his head. "I'm sure. She was just getting the grave dirt when I arrived. Tara's mouth thinned into a grim line, but she gave a wordless nod. You get her home, Spike. We'll clean up here. Spike nodded, lifted Dawn into his arms. She didn't protest, and tucked her face into the lapel of his duster. Thank you, Spike, Tara said seriously as he moved to carry Dawn home. I'll see you tomorrow. He gave a small nod to acknowledge that he had hurt her, then slowly walked off. They didn't speak as he carried her from the cemetery to her home on Ravello. There was nothing really they could have said. Each carried their grief like a heavy shroud that wrapped around them and suffocated words in their throats. Dawn kept one small hand curled into the leather of his coat, her head resting lightly against his shoulder as he walked, taking her ever closer to her fate. He knocked lightly on the front door of the Summers home, dark and silent as a tomb, and immediately heard running footsteps to answer. The door flew open to reveal a disheveled Buffy, still in her rumpled clothes. "Dawn!" she cried, seeing her sister in the vampire's arms. "Oh my God, where have you been? What did you do?" Now, Slay, lay off a bit. It's fine. Found her by your mum's grave, but she's all right now. All safe and sound," he said, stepping inside. "You went to the cemetery at night? Dawn, are you crazy?" Dawn gave Spike a frightened look, then realized he wasn't going to tell Buffy about the spell. I went there to try and bring Mom back," she admitted, knowing that if Spike didn't tell Buffy, Tara and Willow surely would. "You what?" Buffy demanded. Spike sighed, both surprised and proud that Dawn had come clean with her sister. Dawn struggled in his embrace. And he set her down gently on her feet. "I found her gathering grave dirt for a spell. Stopped her before it got too far." Buffy stared, shocked and horrified. "Dawn, how could you... How? To get her back, okay? I wanted her back," Dawn replied, their earlier anger returning to the surface. "Dawn, you have no idea what you're messing with. Who knows what you'd have actually raised, what could have come through the door," Buffy scolded. "Tara told me those spells go bad all the time. People come back wrong. But I need her. I don't care if she's... I'm not like you, Buffy. I don't have anybody," Dawn yelled back, tears spilling over. "What? Of course you do. You have me," Buffy gasped, shocked. "I don't. You won't even look at me. It's so obvious you don't want me around," Dawn insisted. That's not true," Buffy stammered, casting Spike a glance. He shook his head grimly. He wasn't going to get involved here. Buffy and Dawn needed to have this out. Buffy needed to see how much her sister needed her. "It is! And the way you've been acting... Mom died, and it's like you don't even care." Buffy's eyes widened with horror and pain. "God, of course I care. Of course I do. How can you think that? How can I not? You haven't even cried. You've just been running around like it's all some big chore, cleaning up Mom's mess," Dawn seethed. Buffy, still appalled by Dawn's accusation, lost her temper and slapped Dawn across the face. Even as Spike took a step forward, his face concerned, Buffy's hand flew to her mouth and she stared at her sister. Both girls were shaking, and Buffy began to unravel, her careful control beginning to fray at the edges of her anguish, and she started to cry. I've been working. I've been busy because I have to be," Buffy choked, tears running down her face. "You don't. You're avoiding me." "I'm not. I have to do these things, because when I stop, then she's really gone. And I'm trying really to take care of things, but I don't even know what I'm doing. Mom, she always knew." "Nobody's asking you to be Mom," Dawn insisted. "Well, who's going to be if I'm not, Dawn? Have you thought about that? Who's going to make things better? Who's going to take care of us? Buffy wept openly, desperately, as Dawn and Spike watched, helpless, as she fell apart. Seeing her there, small and looking more childlike than he'd ever seen her, Spike fought to keep his own tears at bay. Dawn wasn't so lucky. "Buffy," she sobbed, reaching for her sister. "I didn't mean to push you away. I just didn't want you to see me. I mean, oh God, what are we going to do, Dawnie? I'm so scared." The sisters embraced, crying, the weight of their bodies dragging them to the floor in a tangled heap as they clung to each other. Unable to bear the sight of his two girls in such pain, and still feeling the terrible guilt of his failure, Spike staggered out, leaving the front door open. He could still hear their heart-wrenching sobs long after he had stumbled away from the house and collapsed against a tree, his own ripping their way out of his throat like razor blades. I promise you, Joyce, I'll save your daughters. I'll keep them safe, even if I have to die doing it. I lost you, Joyce. I won't lose Buffy. I won't lose Buffy, too. I failed you, but I won't fail again. Never again. For once, the demon and the soul were in complete accord.
Well, we did another one, Ian.
We did
it's
it.
in the bag.
It's all
we did
done.
It yet again.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Ian.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Hi.
Hi. That's our Russ.
Are we doing a bit?
Or that's
what's going on?
That's you in a bad mood. Hi.
Oh,
We did another one, Ian.
hi.
Hi.
Oh, that's where the Eeyore comes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I hear it. Okay. Well, everybody, thanks
Just to be clear,
for
Jack.
joining us. Yes.
Everybody loves Eeyore.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
I don't.
Eeyore's-
I wish Eeyore, was happier with life and how things were going. But I'm
Me
just
too.
saying, like,
I just
Eeyore's
wanna
not
give him a hug.
not an intensely negative criticism. I love you no matter what.
Thanks. That's all right. I wasn't thinking it, but thanks.
All right, good.
I mean, I can be an Eeyore sometimes. I get it. It's fine. But yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're gonna be around next week, we will be talking about Midsummer.
Midsummer.
A movie that's come up.
Yeah, we rolled. Oh, I think we added that to the list of shame because it was in the top 20 horror movies at the time. Mm-hmm. And I am not looking forward to it, but
I am, because I love horror and I hear it's really good.
the election's over.
Yes,
I had to veto some other stuff that I was like, I
Yeah.
do not have the emotional
Yeah.
capacity
I
to
think-
watch this.
Didn't American History X?
Yeah,
come up? But it's
not watching Curb Stomps.
too real at the moment.
Yeah. That's for certain, says the man living in the States. Anyway, go on.
We haven't really done a lot of the list of shame stuff as of late, so it's going to be good to get back in.
Well,
into it.
we were doing 2 movie nights with our watching partners, and then cut down to 1. And it was sort of like we were doing a list of shame night and a personal night, and now we're rotating that on the one evening. So we're not going to be going through them as fast.
And you were busy last week, I think.
Yeah,
you had
and there's only one now.
Yeah. And we're also doing a new segment that we've come up with, which I'm a little nervous for, if I'm being honest. We're calling it Buffy Bad Takes. Parker did nothing wrong.
Well, that's the...
No, wait. Let me explain.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Buffy Bad Takes, and the bad take we're touching on next week is Parker did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and just to be very, just settle down, don't yell. I can hear you screaming at us right now.
It's called Bad Takes.
Yeah. But for this segment, we take unpopular or downright controversial opinions that have been comments on the channel. Absolutely. I was shocked. Ian, you told me just before we started recording that you've seen that comment.
This is an actual... I mean, I've talked about it in the Hangouts, but this is an actual comment defending Parker that occurred on the channel.
Yeah. And then the day of, what's going to happen is that we flip a coin to see who has to take what side of the conversation. So one of us is going to have the mammoth task of explaining why Parker did nothing wrong, and the other person is going to have the much easier job of explaining why Parker is a douchebag.
Yeah, so we will not know who is doing what until we start recording.
Yeah, and we'll do the flip on stream or on the podcast, so you know, and yeah.
Yeah, now this is an experiment.
Yes.
Yeah, just a bit of fun. There are a lot of the Parker one is so self-evidently problematic and whatever, but there are a lot of controversial takes. Kennedy people. And I just we both just thought it would be fun to have to make the pro Connor argument,
right,
whatever it may be,
and in case it isn't evidence, like both Ian and I are not Parker defenders, but one of us is going to have to be for the sake of the segment.
Yeah, maybe soon for however long we decide the segment should be. But. I've gotten arguments that She is a wonderful episode.
Is this really something for everybody?
Yeah. That's the thing is that in doing this, I rapidly realized every opinion exists, and if you needed any evidence of that, there was a pro Parker.
Argument. I was like, when you told me, I'm like, what? No, really?
Yeah. One happened at the Hangout recently. This time or the time before, I think it was Tom. Tom said something, and I was like, I've never heard that before.
I do recall that, but I don't
remember what it was.
I thanked him for it too, because I was like, thank you because usually I'm the one who says something unpopular and I get dog piled, so it was nice to have somebody else take that mantle.
Well, and the thing is, like, with the bad take moniker, we're not saying which take is the bad take, and the point is, like, if we do a good enough job with the argument one way or another, maybe there will be some way. Probably not for Parker, but that's why we're starting with it.
Yeah, and it's just a bit of fun. It's just an experiment, and so
what was Tom? What was it that Tom?
I don't know, Tom. If you're watching this, please remind us, because I can't remember. It was something, and I remember thanking him for expressing
whatever
it.
He said. I think that would be maybe it was a pro season 4 argument. I feel like it was something about how much he loves season 4. But I mean, that's another example of the type of stuff we're talking about.
Dawn O'Connor thing.
It likes Connor more. I don't remember exactly what it was.
But that might be a good one. And if this works, we'll do more. Like, there's it's sort of spurred. Well, it came on from the idea of, like, you and I have
a number of disagreements. When it comes to the universe. So we thought it would be fun.
And I think at some point we should get into those and sort of discuss the things that we read differently. So cool.
What are we getting up to this week, Jack?
Well, personally, I'm really wanting to get an outline. Sorry,
you're all good.
I would really like to get an outline done for my solo debut video that I've been teasing for kind of years now.
Would you like people to badger you about it?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, At Lack of Surprise 1 on Twitter. Hit me up and be like, Jack, have you got the outline?
How's the outline coming, Jack?
Yeah. It's been such a long time in the works. I've got lots of great ideas, but I just need to make a proper start.
Getting started's tough.
Yeah. I also fell off the workout bandwagon, and I really need to get back in the swing of things, and that's what I've been doing with Beat Saber. I've now done Beat Saber 3 days in a row, and I'll definitely be doing it later on, unless the world ends or something.
Swing of things.
Yeah, because you swing your arms around and
awesome.
Yeah.
I did a test run of the writing streams that I was talking about the last time for NaNoWriMo. I'm still working on getting the first draft of the book done that I talked about early in this podcast. I'm at about 20,000 words now. End of the year, this month is NaNoWriMo. I did a test stream on this channel this week. A few people showed up, a few people who were writing. They did the writing sprints with me, which was a ton of fun, like that solidarity and that when I was living in San Francisco and actually started this book, the original version of this book, during my identity quest, throw everything against the wall and see what sticks phase. One of the things I did was I went to a writing group every weekend in SF and sat there, and we would all write for an hour, and then we'd get up and talk about where we were and how things were going, and then you'd sit down, and it was very helpful, that shared momentum. So I'm definitely going to do another one of those. I'm not with the channel and all of that. I have not been able to hit the 2,000 word a day target, which is about 2 hours of writing for me if things are flowing well.
Wow.
But between and I'm a decently fast typist, but between the channel, the podcast, there's just a lot going on. But nonetheless, I know that there are other people doing NaNoWriMo, and if the streams are helpful and that solidarity, I'm going to keep doing it. Follow me on Twitter to keep abreast of when those are happening. That's at Ian Nittram, or turn on notifications. Make sure you have the bell turned on the channel here.
And they are also streamed here on the podcast channel.
Not the main channel. And this week I'm working on the outlines for both Shadow and Shroud of Ramon. There's been this little thing going on in my country for the past week. That I
really?
Yeah, that I have found surprisingly emotional, and I don't know why I was surprised.
No, me too.
But sort of,
I'm on the other side of the world, and I was like, yes, I was so happy.
Yeah, I went from a ton of doom scrolling to joy scrolling to melancholy scrolling. There's a whole lot of that going on.
It was announced here at like 3-4 in the morning, and I got out of bed to hope scroll and to celebrate scroll.
But this week's a new week. I am taking tomorrow off to play with my new Xbox. And then
that sounds like a euphemism, but it's not.
It's not. I'm going to be doing a bit of work on the podcast tomorrow, so it's not really a day off, but and hope to get at least Shadow in the books. If you want to follow along with Shadow and Shroud of Ramon, that's on the live Twitter account, which is listed on the on my main one. Anyway, I think that's it. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I think we're done. Thanks, friends, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a great week. We love you.
Cheers. Bye.